Word Chapter 4, Formatting Pages. This video is going to cover some of the aspects of Chapter 4. I would encourage you to watch the whole video before beginning Chapter 4. The first thing I want to cover is document views. You need to know how to change your document view. 99% of the time you're going to view your page just as I am right here in print layout. Down at the right hand corner of the screen to the left of the zoom, you have 4 different options. The first, most likely, is print layout, which I'm in right now. From print layout, you can go to the next one, which is full screen, which I was just in. When you get to full screen, you see both pages at one time, and then I close out of it when I'm done. The one right after that is web layout, how it would look if I were to take this page and publish it to a website. And then we've got outline view, which sets it up as an outline, and we'll work more with this view later. And then you have draft view, which you're seeing right here. Again, I go back to print layout, which is what I work with most of the time. You can also go to the view tab, and you have all of your views right up here. Either way works. I usually just use the icons at the bottom, but you can sure go to the view tab also. Once you're in the view tab, you'll notice in the show group you have navigation pane, which probably is not checked. If I go and check it, I can work in my navigation pane. It takes my my headings and puts them out here. For instance, if I go to trackball, it'll take me to the part in my document about trackball. If I go to printer, it'll take me down to printer. Now, in a document as this is with only 2 pages, I probably wouldn't utilize this feature, but if I had a 20-page file or document, this would be very, very helpful. I'm going to turn navigation pane off because I just like to see my whole screen. I'm going to do a control home and get back to the top. Another thing that I want to go over is, where am I at? In the page layout tab, I want to talk about margins. Right now, the default margins are set at 1 inch all around, top, bottom, left, and right. There's some other preset margins here, but a lot of times these preset aren't what the book asks for. So sometimes you have to go to custom margin. In custom margins, I can go and change to whatever I need to. While I'm in this page setup dialog box, I want to cover a few other things in here. We can also change the orientation from portrait to landscape right in here. I can go to the paper tab, which is just if I had a different size piece of paper that I was printing on, I would change things in there. We can go to layout and work with header and footers, which we'll work with in the correct tab here in a little bit, but you can also always go to page layout or page setup in the layout tab. And then the vertical alignment, which we'll talk about too. Right now things are set to start at the top of the page. The main reason I'd use a vertical alignment as something other than top would be if I'm doing a title page and I want things centered. But right now I'm just going to leave that right here how it is. The next thing that I wanted to cover is also you can do margins right here without, remember we went to page setup and we were in the margins tab, but it's also right here in the page setup group underneath the page layout tab. If I go to insert, I can choose to have a page break. So for instance, if my page automatically breaks, like right here, I'm starting this new section over the mouse and it breaks 3 lines in. So I might want to create a page break. So if I go to page break, right here, it just moves that whole section down. I'm going to undo that because I'm going to show you the shortcut key for page break, which is Control Enter. It does exactly the same thing. It breaks it and moves it down. When you get to the end of your margin, which is set at 1 inch, the bottom of the page, it'll automatically break. But sometimes you're just not happy with where that break took place. Once in a while, I want to create a blank page inside, maybe if I'm doing multiple title pages. To do that, I'm not going to do one here, but I would just insert blank page. Once in a while, it asks you, which I think is a pretty cool feature, to do a cover page. And there's some examples, and you can take these and you can play with them, you can change things on them. But I'm just going to insert this one, and I go in and type in the year, type in the information. I'm not going to do it all. I could also just decide to get rid of that part if I don't want it. I'm going to leave it. Now notice it just went right where a title page should, right above my first page. I'm going to remove the title page for now. And we're back to our regular work a little bit with header and footers. Once in a while I want a header and or a footer. Headers obviously are at the top of the page, footers are at the bottom. I can choose for header to be on every page. I can choose for them to be on certain pages, odd pages, even pages. You just have to work with the different options under header and footer. Again, I'm still in the insert tab, and over here I could choose just to put a page number and put it at the top or the bottom, or I could choose a header and footer and add other things besides. I typically like my page number in the footer, but I'm going to choose to do a footer with my name on the left, and I'm going to and then the page number shows there. Now as I go down, notice my name's on the footer of all. When I'm done, I can close the header and footer, and I can see it shows up, my name and the page. Maybe at the top in the header, maybe I'm just going to put, let's choose, I'm just going to have the date. I'm going to say September 11th. Now I could choose for the date to only be on the first page. Oh, I chose not to be on the first page. I'm sorry. I chose different first page. So it's going to stay on there. So that's header and that's footer. And again, to go to header and footer, there's more in the book about it. You have lots of options. I can choose to remove the header I put on. I can edit. I can choose any of these things. Also, if I just want the page number, I could choose for it to be top, bottom, set where I want my page number to be. Also, as we're in the Insert tab, notice you're going to work a little bit with pictures and clip arts and shape and smart art and charts. They're all right there. They're pretty easy to understand and to follow. Also, date and time. So, for instance, maybe I want to, I'm going to just put the date up there. If I go to date and time, I can choose however I want the layout. So for instance, if I wanted to say September 11th, 2012, I could also choose for it to automatically update. So if I open this file tomorrow, it's going to say September 12th, 2012. Sometimes it says don't automatically update, and sometimes it does. So you kind of got to watch for all that. In the Home tab, we are going to do a little bit with Find and Replace. I'm going to choose to replace the word computer, because I know it's all over this document, and replace it with laptop. I'm going to make it. Now, there's lots of different options with Find and Replace, and I encourage you to look through these as you go through it in the book. To get to them, you just go to the More tab, and it'll explain what each of these does. I'm going to choose to replace all, and it says 10 replacements have made, and let's just go check. Yep, right away in my title it used to say computer input devices, and now it says laptop. Just go and check and make sure I covered everything that I really did want to cover in this little session. Watermark. Maybe I choose to put a watermark of confidential. That's all I have to do. And I can choose, notice there's edit, I can remove it. I can choose any of these, or I can choose a custom. Maybe I want to put my name in it. Those are your options. I could choose for it to be maybe a little bit different color, a little blue versus the gray. Also a page border. I love page borders. I think it dresses things up, adds a little bit of color. I can choose, let's say I want to do, I'm into fall right now, so I want it to be the whole document, and there's a border. So play around with the different options. You can really take a plain, boring Word document and make it pretty cool if you take the time to learn how. I hope you've learned quite a bit through this video over Chapter 4. Let me know if you have any questions. Good afternoon. I wanted to create a quick video on some of the things in Chapter 3 that I think need to be expanded on a little more, meaning I don't feel the book covers it as much as I would like it to. So please watch this video and go through it a little before doing chapter 3. The first thing in chapter 3 that I want to cover is tabs. Tabs are really important in Word. We all know that we have a tab button on our keyboard, and if I press the tab button, it'll tab automatically 1/2 inch. Well, sometimes I want my tab to be set more or less than 1/2 inch, so I need to know how to set it. There's 2 ways I'm going to show you to set tabs. The first is using your ruler. If your ruler is not showing like mine is, you need to first go to View and make sure Ruler is checked. Once the ruler is checked, you're going to see this icon on the left-hand side for our tab stop position. Right now that's set to do a left tab. That icon is for a center tab. This icon is for a right tab. And this icon is for a decimal tab, for if I'm talking money and I want my decimal points to line up. And this is my bar tab. A bar tab would set a vertical line down your page. If you look on page 168, there's some examples of a left tab being set up on the left, a right tab on the right, a center tab in the center, decimal tabs are lined up by the decimal, and a bar tab setting a vertical line down your page. I'm going to go back to left tab because the tabs I'm going to set for this first exercise are going to be left tabs. Before I get too far into it, I'm going to put my title. I always put my title in centered before I start my tabs. So this first title is just going to be workshops. We're going to do some workshops here. I'm going to go to the left. I'm going to set my first tab. I'm going to have a tab set at 0.75. So I click on the ruler right under the tick mark of 7.5. I'm going to have one set at 3.25. And I'm going to actually have a decimal tab, because we're going to talk money, set at 5.5. Okay, so the first thing I do is I press tab. Notice my insertion points lined up with that tab on the ruler. And I'm going to type Microsoft, if I could spell, Excel. Press tab, and that one's going to be offered in October. Press tab. And this one's going to be $125. I'm going to press tab and Microsoft Word. Tab, that one's going to be in November, and that one's only going to be $75. Notice how the decimals are lined up? And after I type in, the $75, I press enter. First thing I have to do, because notice my insertion points at the 0, is press tab. Now the nice thing is I can go and change things. So for instance, I'm going to select them, and I'm going to make this tab at 3.25. I'm going to move it over to 3 inch. Just click it and move it over. Go ahead. I'm going to press enter a couple times. I'm going to show you another way to do tabs. This time I'm going to clear my tabs. So I'm just going to move them off, pull them off, because I'm going to start a new one. I just click and drag down. I don't have to do that because I could do it in the dialog box, but I want to put my title in before I get things situated. And this is a menu. We're going to make a little menu. Okay, go back to left alignment. Now, to set tabs in the dialog box, which quite honestly, I prefer to use the dialog box. And for something like a menu or a table of contents, when we have dot, 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 like dot, it's called the dot leader, I can only set leaders in the dialog box. So in the Home tab, in the paragraph group, in the bottom right-hand corner, I'm going to click, and down at the bottom left, I have tabs. If there anything showing up, so if I didn't pull these off the ruler, I would go ahead and clear them. Right now, I'm going to move this out of the way a little bit. Everything's cleared. I'm going to have my first at 1 inch. So I'm going to have a 1 inch. It's going to be a left tab set. Now, my next tab, so going from my 1 inch to, I'm going to do it at about 5.5. I want to have dot leaders. And I'm going to put the price. So I'm going to be decimal tabs at 5.5. So 5.5 decimal dot leaders, set, and OK. Now again, I'm going to hit tab, and I'm going to put burger. Tab. Notice I hit tab, and those dots showed up. That's going to be $4.50. Press tab. Or press enter. Now tab. Slice of pizza. Press tab. $3. Enter, tab. Salad. Tab. We all know eating healthy is more expensive, $6. Okay, so that's another way. Notice on my ruler, they're all up there too. Another quick thing I want to show you is if I double click on the ruler, if I don't want to go back to paragraph and tabs, if I double click on the left tab or the decimal tab, whatever symbol you want, it'll open up your tab stop dialog box. So I can go and adjust, change, clear, whatever I need to do. So in chapter 3, before doing tabs, I want you to watch this video to learn a little bit more about tabs. The other thing they're going to cover briefly in chapter 3, and then you'll also use it in chapter 4, is doing a table. There are some pretty cool things with tables. One, I love tables because it keeps things nice and organized. But if I go to insert table, I can use these grids to figure out the size of my table, or I could simply go to insert table and I could type in, I'm going to have 4 columns and I'm not going to do 7, 4 rows. Okay. Now, to get from one cell to the next in a table, you simply tab. If I want to reverse, I shift tab. Or I can use my mouse and click, as you all know. When I get to the very last cell of a table, so I'm in there right now, right there, if I press tab, it adds another row, which is very cool. Remember, columns go up and down, rows go across. So that's a row, this is a column. Typically, we label rows and columns with letters and numbers. So this would be column A, B, C, D. This would be row 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If I happen to be in this cell right here, I would be in B2, okay? So just something to kind of keep in mind. The nice thing about tables is everything that you need to do to make a table pretty is done in these 2 tabs, the design tab and the layout tab. So for instance, if I wanted to merge these rows or these A1, B1, C1, and D1 under layout, merge cells. And then I could also go and center that title. In design, I could choose to shade. Lots of things I can do. And obviously they have preset ones too. A lot of things with tables is just trial and error. So go ahead and play around with it and get comfortable with it. You're going to learn a lot in chapter 3 and chapter 4 with labels. Everything else in chapter 3 I feel is pretty basic, pretty straightforward. I think you'll do great. I really think you'll enjoy. Not that chapter 2 was hard, but research papers just aren't as fun as creating letters and letterheads and working with tables. I think you're really going to like chapter 3 and 4, but as always, if you have any questions, get a hold of me. Have a good day.